Okay, according to my electronic clocks that are synced with the national clock, wherever it is, somewhere in Colorado, it's now 1 o'clock, so I'm going to call into session the Monroe County Election Board. Members present are Carolyn Vanderweel. Hi, Carolyn. She is the Democrat representative, and Nicole Brown, who is the clerk of courts, and our extremely knowledgeable ex officio member. So I will start with the first agenda item. Under old business, we had delinquent filings. There were 3 filings that preceded this primary and 3 filings that or missed filings that were part of this this recent primary. Going to the missed deadlines for annual reports on finances, we had Joseph Blevins, Ryan Maloney, and Denise Valkyrie. I can report that I've had communication from Joseph Blevins, and I put him in touch with Election Central, and I sent him the contact to get the forms he needs. So he said he will be resolving that issue. It is up to the board to determine how we want to deal with this. He stated that he changed his address, and indeed that's true. I got him using an online tool that ferrets out information about people, and I found a number of different emails for him. I sent a note to each email, and it also showed a number of different addresses for him. He did respond to one of those emails, and that's how we got in contact with him. So Joseph Blevins says he is resolving the situation. This was a carryover. He had at least 1, if not 2, prior notices that probably did not reach him. So could I have a motion from the board on how to act on this?
Hal, this is Nicole, and
yes.
I am happy to defer to whatever we all agree is best. What I will say is, as I got the copies of the files, it was requested that we take some type of action. So whatever we decide, I do want it to be very serious.
Okay. He did respond to me as soon as he heard that this issue existed. I got him through an email, and I sent the full text of our call to the meeting, and he responded as quickly as a human possibly could. So he definitely did respond once he got the notice. Carolyn, I can't hear you. Nope, can't hear you.
She's enjoying that backyard is what she's doing.
Okay, maybe we should present some possibilities to her. Do you feel that? No? Okay, she's going to make it work. All right.
Do we have a filing yet for Mr. Blevins?
I'm sorry, say it again, Chair.
I said, do we have a filing yet from Joseph Blevins?
I doubt you would.
I don't think we do.
I doubt you would yet, because he just got back to me. Actually, I didn't succeed in reaching him until day before yesterday. So
okay.
That wouldn't be enough time for turnaround.
Okay, I apologize. The notes that Karen left in the file are that this was due on January 15th, 2020, and that he appeared at the election board meeting on March 5th, 2020. So we are going on 4 months since he made contact.
So we have a record of inaction on this, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. In that case, I am going to ask for a motion from the board. We only have 1 member on right now. Oh, there she is. She's back and she's unmuted. Carolyn, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I did not hear the rest of the conversation as I left to
Okay.
enter. So what was, I
There
don't
was
even
a
know the
there
motion.
was a physical contact, physical communication with him in January and again in March, and nothing resulted from it. So this is strike three.
Filing was due January 15th, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
And has
Okay.
he, do we know if he's had previous violations before this one?
I have no record of that.
And I
There's
don't
nothing
believe-
listed as a previous violation.
And I don't believe
What
he's
is-
run before.
Go
But-
ahead, Carolyn.
I said, I don't believe that he actually ran before, so this would be his first.
And what's indicated in the file is that it is his first. And when the request was made that we take some action with respect to this, I'm presuming it's because he appeared at the EB meeting, told us that he would get it done, and that was on March 5th.
And I think, is this the gentleman who did go to Election Central, but then didn't return to finish it, I think? And he knew he
Correct.
needed to. Yes.
Okay. I mean, my issue is here is he was contacted in January. He's done nothing between now and then to contact us at all. Am I being heard again?
Yes.
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 Okay. And you know, he knew he was on notice to get it done, and it's now what, 6 months later, and he's still done nothing. So I think that we can't completely ignore this, and that there should be some consequence to it. But I don't know that we necessarily need to fine him $1,000 either.
I concur with that reasoning. I think there needs to be some material penalty for having promised and not carried through, or made sure that it was carried through by his campaign treasurer. So I would propose that we do a minimal fine of $50 on this. That's my
happy with
motion.
that,
Okay.
and I will second that motion.
All those
And I
in
would make
favor?
that, wait a
Yes.
minute, I would make
Yes.
that contingent upon him actually doing the filing by the next board meeting. Otherwise,
Correct.
we're gonna, you know,
Correct.
lower the boom.
Okay. All those in favor? I
I
vote
think
aye.
we actually have to call a roll call.
Okay. Carolyn,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
and Hal, aye. Okay. I will communicate that to him, and we'll see what happens between now and the next meeting. Next person on our list was Ryan Maloney. I was unsuccessful in any attempts to reach Ryan Maloney. He had a number of contacts in Las Vegas. I was unable to get him at any of those. He had a number of emails. I was unable to reach him on any of those. I even had an email for an ex-roommate, and I tried that, but was unable to get him on that. So this is still work in progress.
I have also left him a couple of messages to say that, you know, to call me, and he's not responded to that either. So I'm not exactly sure what is up with him at the moment, but
Yeah.
okay. He's been unresponsive. He did agree at the last meeting when we waived his fine to get it done, and he hasn't done so. So I'm thinking that we have to again deal with some consequences, but I'm not sure how we want to handle that one.
The notes in the file indicate that this was due April 22nd, 2019 at noon. They got paperwork on April 22nd at 1:12. The next filing was due January 15th, 2020 at noon. I have an email address here. I don't know if that's the email to which you're referring. He filed something on March 5th, 2020, but the form is missing information.
Well, that is two different problems then. One is a delinquent form and the other is an incomplete form. There are two different issues there. But he's not updated the form that he filed finally?
That is
what
my
information was missing now?
So I am looking at Karen's notes. He agreed, this is the gentleman who agreed to meet with the election supervisor after the meeting. And then he has not been heard from since then.
And he
She's called-
understood he was supposed to come back, I think, and finish. Based on what
Right.
Karen shared.
I feel like that's the gentleman who drove all the way from he came from a significant distance to appear before us at that meeting. And then I have found another note in his file indicating that Karen reached out to him on April 8th and left a message.
I think he might have been the one that drove up from maybe Evansville.
It was a significant distance.
Yeah, it was a couple of hours anyway. But so my understanding is then he filed his annual, but it's incomplete. Is that what I'm getting from the notes that you have?
That is what I have in the notes.
Okay.
It says filed paperwork is deficient.
So there's two issues. He filed his paperwork at whatever meeting it was, I think the March meeting, but it's deficient. So
I'm sorry, perhaps it's just me. I missed part of what Carolyn said.
No, Carolyn's connection is faltering a bit.
Yeah.
Could you try just audio and turn off your video, Carolyn? Sometimes that helps. It could just be a bandwidth issue. Okay, she's frozen.
Yeah.
there
Yeah, not getting it.
Oh, bless her heart.
I could go and stop her video if you'd like.
Right. Carolyn, yeah, that might help. Yeah, Brady, can you cut her video?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even letting me do it. It must be some sort of weird connection thing.
Okay.
different.
Does okay. There.
Are we better
There.
now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, I'm see whether it works better again.
Yes, sometimes just
Can you
audio
turn me
works
back on,
great.
Eric?
Your audio is great.
I know, but I'm in a different place. So turn the video back on and see if it works. It's much easier.
Okay, it's
be able to
still
see
just
people.
audio. There you are. Okay.
Okay. So there are two issues here. He was delinquent in his filing. He resolved that, but his filing was deficient. which is a different rule.
And he was
and a different
notified of that.
fine. Yes, but it's a different fine than it would be, and it's a different rule than it would be if he hadn't filed at all.
Right.
So in this case, it's $100 over 10 days. It's $10 a day. So again, I think we need to assess that fine, and he needs to respond to us. But I don't know whether his phone is still the same. It goes straight to voicemail. I've left him a couple of voicemails. It sounds like you have too, and it sounds like Karen has. So I'm not sure how we reach him. But I do think at this point that I would make the motion that we assess him the $100 delinquency fine because he's not been responsive to anything.
I will second the motion.
Okay, could I have a roll call? Carolyn,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Okay, that is passed.
I don't know whether we have a current address, but we could send him a certified letter. That might
Yeah.
work. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a number of different addresses. I'll touch base with Nicole and Karen to see what they have for him. I have what Karen has for him. I doubt that's valid, but anymore. But we'll make every attempt to get a hold of him and notify him of this. Okay. And that I'll take care of that in the next day or two. Valkyrie, Denise
So-
Valkyrie. Yes.
I've spoken to Denise several times, and she should have filed her paperwork yesterday. But I don't know that we know that because we don't have anybody from the office here. But we've been
Right.
going back and forth all week. We had trouble getting hold of her the first time. So actually the first time I contacted her was the first time she kind of heard about this, even though she should have known anyway. But I was working with her on getting her paperwork done, and we talked, or at least we texted back and forth 2 days ago. She was supposed to contact Election Central yesterday to figure out the best way for them to receive her information. And that's where I've left it. So she should have filed it yesterday, but I don't know that she has.
Okay, that's great.
So, Ms.
then-
Carolyn, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Nicole.
I think Sherry's actually calling them and checking.
I think that's what she's doing too. But prior to Karen going out for bereavement leave, she made sure that I had the files. And I feel confident that either Karen or someone in the office would have let me know if something had changed because they knew that I was going to be bringing the files to the election board meeting.
Although if it happened yesterday afternoon, you might still not know. So let's see what Sherry comes up with.
Okay,
But we have not discussed her case or worked with her until last month. So she's a little bit different situation than the others. Sherry, what did they say?
I checked with Laramie. It has not been filed.
All right. I will call Denise again and figure out what's going on. I will tell her she has until next board meeting to deal with her situation. And if it is not done by then, we will throw the book at her. And the truth is she can't afford it, so she better get her paperwork in. But I'm not sure what her problem is. I mean, from what I understand, she did no work. It should have been a 0 and an easy filing, and I'm not sure why it's not filed. But she was going to talk to Election Central yesterday about how to get it in a timely fashion, and apparently she's not done that.
And this was also due in January.
Denise was done in January, but she was kind of the one that fell through the cracks and never got notified,
No.
even though again, but I'd kind of like to work with her as we worked with the other people before we,
Sure, just clarifying. Okay.
But this was also an annual filing, and it should have been an easy filing to do, and I'm not sure why she's finding it so difficult, but I'll work with her and figure that out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Carolyn.
But
Yeah.
I think we should give her until the next board meeting, and if that's not done at that point, we need to deal with it.
Okay.
So for my notes for Karen, it has not been filed as of today. We are granting her an extension to the next election board meeting to get it filed, and we will attempt to work with her at the next meeting, or we will impose a sanction at the next meeting.
We'll impose a sanction at the next meeting,
Yep.
at least a minimum sanction, because as I said, I've been working with her for at least 3 weeks to get it in. And she said she would contact Election Central yesterday. That's not been done. I don't know why, but I want to talk to her and ask her why before we deal with it. So,
Okay. Very good. Anything else on Denise Falkry's case? Okay.
I have nothing.
Then that resolves the missed deadlines on the annual basis. We'll move on to the campaign finance report, missed deadlines for the pre-primary. Number one on the list is Carl Boehm, and we have Carl with us. Carl communicated to me immediately upon receiving my contact, and Carl, I'll let you speak for yourself.
I dropped a copy off yesterday. I know I mailed it, or it was in a stack of mail. Like I said, I lost my business, and I remember paying my property taxes, looking at my desk, and I put that in the mail. It could be behind my desk. It could have gotten there, but I did drop one off yesterday. Like I said, I had no interest in the election at that point. If you read the papers, I didn't respond. I lost my business, 4 kids e-learning. I didn't take any contributions. I had no interest, but I did send it in. I want to say early May. It was sitting with my property taxes and stuff.
Okay. Your campaign had a zero balance?
I never took any money. When this all happened, I had good intentions to run, and I lost my business. I've got 4 kids e-learning. I have a sick family member. I had no interest, and I just sent it in with all zeros. I took no money. It was one of those things, just not a good time for a lot of people.
Carl,
but I did. I'm sorry.
Did you mark it as a final report?
No, I didn't. Whatever. I filled out the original one I got, and what I said, I'm sure I sent it in, or I sent it through the snail mail. I didn't do email. And then I contacted Hal, and somebody called me from the clerk's office yesterday and said to drop a copy off, or a new one off, and I did yesterday, right before lunchtime.
Okay. I would make a suggestion so we don't get into problems next year.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is to go ahead and file an annual for this year as of the next few weeks and mark it as a final. Then you don't
What is
have
an
to
annual?
Okay, your annual report, which is due every year. And if you have an open campaign finance account, which you do, because you didn't mark that as a final, you are required every year, even if you're not running, to file an annual report in January of the following year.
Okay. I'm new to politics, so I did not know this.
But you can file that report at any time. So what I would do is do another one. It's all zeros. You've got no balance, whatever. And there's a box that marks it as says a final report. Drop that back off and we're done. And we won't come back next January and go, hey, where's your annual?
Is that what you're talking about? Is that like the extra pages that was with that report?
No, it's the report
I downloaded something online that Mr. Turner sent me yesterday or the day before, that form, but it didn't have those other sheets that the first one had where it asked you who donated and how much. Is that what you're talking about? Or?
No, those are addendums. You just need the front page of the CFA4. There's a little box on there that asks you, is it an amended form or is it a final? It's a little tiny box, but it's more.
Okay. So just the same form I dropped off yesterday, just put final on it and redo it.
Put a bunch of Z's in it or zeros in it and mark it as a final, and we'll be done with you. Should you ever run for office again, you can just reopen your campaign account. But otherwise, and the one that gets everybody is that they whether you do anything or not, whether you're running that year or not, you have to file an annual report every year.
Okay.
And people think, well, I didn't do anything last year, I don't have to do that. That's where everybody gets into trouble with their annuals. So just take care of it, close your account and reopen it if you ever run again.
I never even opened it. I never started an account, like a bank account.
Well, no, not a bank account, an account with the office. So when you file, you officially open a campaign finance account with the election office.
Okay.
And that means then you are responsible for all the reports that are required by an active candidate, whether you're running or not.
Okay.
So just file another annual, mark it final, and you're done.
Okay.
And
So
we won't
just
come
drop
back
that off
to
then this
it.
afternoon or tomorrow at the election office or?
Whatever's convenient for you. You have until next January 15th to do it.
Oh, okay.
I would just do it before you forget about it.
Sorry about my daughter.
We like
No, for that,
Beautiful, and it's lovely to see her.
Thank you.
yes, for future candidates, tell her the clerk is waving at her.
Do you remember Nicole? No.
Okay.
So
Okay,
am I done?
Um,
I think you're done.
yeah.
Okay. I apologize for any inconvenience too. I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess we have to make a motion to waive his
Oh.
fine officially, which I will do.
I will
as
make
it-
a motion. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Nicole
I'll-
second,
I'll-
or
Yeah, Nicole seconds.
however Sherry wants to write it down.
Yeah. Carolyn,
Aye.
how do you vote? Okay,
Aye.
Nicole? And I vote
Aye.
aye. Okay, and Hal votes aye. So the fine is waived and this is pending the final resolution. You need to close out your account.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Thank
actually,
you.
he's done with this year.
Yeah,
If he does
done with
not
this,
do
but
the final will come back to you
Yeah.
next year because you didn't do it. So
Okay.
get it done.
Again,
while
I
you're still-
apologize. I'm sorry
yeah,
for wasting
that's
everybody's
okay.
time.
It's a convoluted process.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Can I
Okay.
go?
Yes, Carl, thank you.
Thank you. You all stay safe.
Okay.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Okay, there are two other names on the list of pre-primary non-filings, and that is Dominic Thompson and Zachary Weisheit. I was not able to contact either one of them in enough time for them to respond. So that will have to be deferred to the next meeting. If you know how to get a hold of them, if anyone on the committee knows how to get a hold of them, if they can resolve this before the next meeting, then it will save a lot of grief all the way around. They're both first offenses. So if they take action to resolve this, then there really isn't going to be any severe repercussion.
Al, did you call them and they didn't respond, or what
No.
was?
No, I did
Okay.
not. I didn't get time to make a timely call to them.
I'll take care of calling them later today and see if we can get that ball rolling.
Okay, that'd be terrific. Thank you.
Gives you a break of things you have to do.
Right. Are there any other discussions regarding delinquent filings and the review of those?
No, my
No,
only
sir.
comment is we seem to be having a lot more delinquencies than we used to.
Yep.
And I just want to remind candidates, this is both a part of your duties and it's important that it be done. It's important that other people be able to see those forms in a timely fashion. And it's part of the agreement that you make when you run for being a candidate. So,
And it's required by state law.
and it's required by state law, yes.
So, okay, hearing no further discussion on delinquent filings, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is polling sites for the 2020 fall election. I can tell people that I have been in consultation with Tree and Sherry, representing the clerk's office and the election central. And I've also had contact with representatives from Stone Belt in regard to helping us review sites for ADA compliance. And our intent is to have their agreement on any violations of ADA or anything that steps out of the ADA boundaries as described in the 2016 ADA election manual. The 2020 version doesn't exist yet. So if we do find anything that's not in compliance, then we will work as a team with the election board and this committee to come up with a resolution. And the intent of that resolution will be to either come into compliance or make a reasonable accommodation that is agreed with by the representatives from Stone Belt. Now, the executive director of Stone Belt told me that they will represent a variety of challenges. Some will be visually impaired, some will be mobility impaired. We want to make sure that these are all potential voters who are doing the review for us. So that was, they may be a mixture of staff or clients at Stone Belt. Do I have any comments on that process that anyone would like to make?
How many sites are we thinking we're going to open?
Yeah, good question. That's another process that I'm about to kick off. And basically I'd like to do a review of the underperforming precincts to see if there's a potential for reducing the number of voting sites in the fall if we do an unencumbered vote. But the caveat there is that nobody can be disenfranchised. If we move or combine precincts, we have to be very sure that we're not going to create a barrier to voting for anyone whose precinct is changed to a new location. And that was the same criteria we tried to meet for the primary, where we went from 34 to 7. I know there were people who were inconvenienced there. We did our best to mollify that by providing them all an opportunity to vote by mail. We don't know what the rules are going to be this fall. It's probably going to be August, hopefully, or September, worst case, when we find out from the state what their rules are going to be for this election. Basically, we're going to prepare best case, worst case scenarios.
We do know, of course, that at this point, both the governor and the Secretary of State and the Election Commission are inclined not to do universal vote by mail for the general. That may change depending on what happens, of course, with the virus over the next month or two. So,
exactly.
And I do hope that they will make that decision early enough that we can not have the problems we had in the primary. But getting started now on the worst case scenario is probably a great idea because we'll be ready for whatever they do decide.
Yep. We know that this week we had the second highest COVID infection rate in Monroe County that we've had so far on one day. We had 12 people in one day that were identified as being COVID carriers. We're about to invite 40,000 students to come in and play the role of infection vectors for us. So we'll have to see what happens there. If the inclusion of 40,000 students does cause a tremendous jump in COVID, then we'll have to take whatever actions we can take as a county, regardless of what the state does within the boundaries that we have. First and above all, we want to protect the safety of our volunteers and our voters, as we did in the primary. And I think everybody on this team did a fantastic job in doing that. I've had nothing but rave results from people who participated in voting and people who volunteered. They thought we did an absolutely stellar job of keeping things moving and keeping things safe. So the only criticism we had about the primary election was that on election night, rather than work people from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., we allowed from 6 a.m. until we finished the last vote, we allowed people to go home at 10 p.m. and come back at 8 a.m. and finish 4 hours of vote counting. We took criticism for that. I'm willing to take that beating anytime. I think we made the right decision for the right reasons, because when you push people into the middle of the night, you start to get errors. And also, everybody needs their naps. I know I do. And 10 p.m. was plenty. Yes, we have a question from Valerie Houghton-Modley.
Well, Houghton for these purposes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
As a candidate, well, that's my real name, but as a candidate, I'm Valerie Houghton. And I was just going to say that personally, I appreciated, the fact that you guys cut off at 10 and then restarted, because I think it does, like you said, it makes it much more efficient. And it wasn't a major hardship for anybody. So I personally thought it was a good idea to do that. And
Yeah,
probably a good idea in the future.
Yeah, it turns out there's a state statute that says once we start counting, we have to count until we're completed. And we weren't aware of that. So we won't have that option in the fall. We'll have a third shift. Hopefully, if we can get enough volunteers. Otherwise, Carolyn's volunteered. She will stay all night to count votes.
Absolutely.
Right, good. Good.
One comment that I would make that will make everybody's life a little easier is that if you do currently qualify to vote by mail and you're going to do that in the fall, file your application now, because we'll have those applications ready. The ballots will be, once the ballots is set up and you can vote, we'll send them out. But one of the real problems that we had in the primary was those 12 to 15,000 applications that came in the last week. We had to work multiple people extra. Well, we basically worked all Memorial Day weekend. We had to hire extra people to deal with that. And so if we can get the ones that we know can already do that and wish to do that out of the way, they won't be a complication later in the fall. So if you know that you're going to do it, go ahead and file the application now. It'll be on file and ready to go. Our offices will be able to essentially flatten that curve, as it were. And then if they change the rules, we'll have the ones that can do it already out of the way. So think about that.
Yeah, good. And there's no guarantee that we will have the same voting criteria established for absentee ballots in the fall. We may go back, the direction they seem to be headed is that we'll go back to the standard absentee voting criteria rather than allowing anyone to vote for any reason or no reason whatsoever.
Correct,
remotely.
but if you're over 65,
Yep.
you're confined and so forth, you already
Yep.
know that you qualify. So
Yeah.
if we can get the ones that actually qualify for those reasons done, then if the rules do change, plus there are thousands of things we have to do right before the primary. And if we can keep
Yeah.
our voter registration office from having to file hundreds of applications, we can get it done.
One of the reasons things went so smoothly this spring primary was partially because we had such a huge number of absentee votes and it took the pressure off 7 voting sites. It really was the perfect result of a disaster plan. So I appreciate the hard work everyone put in on that. Are there?
Sorry.
Yes. Any comments?
We did get feedback from, so far we've gotten feedback from about 36 of the poll workers as well, which are specific to the process they experienced while working on election day, just because I always summarize those. And I'm happy to send them to the election board. There are some generally quite positive feedback and some real specific feedback. They love the new poll books. They really appreciated having a big push for mail voting so that the number of voters was manageable, although it was very busy at the polls. And there are other comments as well. There were also some good ideas shared, specific ideas, which I'm happy to go through, but I could also just wanted to let you know that we are in the process and I'm ready to send what I have so far to the election board so that we can look at those challenges, opportunities for the upcoming election.
That's great. Thank you for that, Sherry. And I look forward to receiving that, as the rest of the board will as well. Sherry, we know that it was generally well received. What were some of the most severe criticisms we had of the process?
Briefly, it was actually quite well received, but in terms of criticisms, there was some feedback about supplies. We wanted to be disinfecting ink pens for voters. I think there was a severe shortage of ink pens at the polls, and so therefore that process of disinfecting was a challenge. Plus, we wanted to be disinfecting poll books every time they're used, yet we didn't have enough disinfectant to supply for all the poll books and to do the voting table. So there was a supplies issue commented by many people. They were very appreciative of protection and these were individuals who agreed to wear a mask or a face shield, but it was still difficult to do that all day long and to communicate with workers when you're, have a face mask on. That was a challenge for voters to understand. And frankly, there were certain points at the poll, although generally it was well laid out and efficient, when social distancing was very difficult because of having a central location for our ballots, as opposed to having them spread out, which we kind of knew that going in. So generally, in fact, they loved the face shields, Hal, that you provided. But at the end of the day, they wanted everybody to be wearing a mask, a face shield or a mask, voters' mask. They wanted everyone to have a mask because, frankly, after working with 1,000 to 2,000 voters, they were still concerned about their own personal safety. They were wishing that they could then be tested to make sure they were okay after working the election. The scanner issue, we know they were hypersensitive. It's new equipment. We didn't realize that was an aspect of the current program, so that was a challenge. But those are things that we can adjust. So it was a supplies issue. They were very busy because of the number of precincts we had voting, and so breaks and all that other stuff were a challenge. So that, and then grateful that voters had some masks, wishing they all had masks, but it was just kind of it's a challenge. So generally positive, but those were the specific feedbacks.
Terrific. Thank you. I'll look forward to seeing that report.
I've gotten it written up. So I think we're still getting surveys in, to be honest. I think there's 1 or 2 or however many at the office still. So I'll add those in.
Okay. Regarding the polling sites for the 2020 fall election, do we have any comments from anyone else online?
Hal, this is Nicole.
Yes.
And I certainly don't want to step on anything that you have said previously, because you and Carolyn may be privy to more information than I am if you're in communication with the state party chairs. Clerks have been asked not to step on anything that the Secretary of State might want to announce regarding the general election. I think the fairest thing that I can say until we are authorized to go further or she makes her own press release would be the expectation that we plan for a full fall election. There is a belief that if we have more polling sites and the 28 days of early in-person voting, that would allow for more social distancing because you don't have to wait until the last minute. You can take your time and vote within those 28 days. And so right now we have our list of 34 polling sites, some that will need to be reviewed. I also kind of made a first pass at trying to whittle some of those down should we need to combine them. It is a difficult thing to do when you look at how many are in, how many voters we have in some precincts. Some of them are a lot. And if we tried to combine, it would make it a lot. So I'm not going to step on Secretary Lawson, but just until I hear further notice, I think the fairest thing to say is we've got a plan for a full out election. And I know 7 polling sites are not going to cut it in November.
For sure.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
The workers at Election Day know this, of course. We all know this. While the primary was very busy, both by mail and in person, we know the fall election will be exponentially busier. That many more voters. So I understand why there's hesitancy to cut back anything at this point. Nicole, I will share with you the counts that I put together for Hal and Tree. I can share it with you too, Carolyn, just so that we see how many people are registered and how many people voted in 2016 and 2018 in the general in the past.
One comment, I just got online and looked at the online application for vote by mail, and it has been updated. It hadn't at the last election, but it is completely updated with the 2020 general and the reasons that you would select for doing it.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for people to go online and register to vote by mail if they meet one of those criterion to do so. So again, no matter what, we've always had a problem with everybody doing everything at the last minute. It's been a consistent issue for years, and we understand to some extent why that is. But it would be really nice if people would do things early if they can this year. That includes early voting and vote by mail if you qualify and want to do it that way. Okay. On my soapbox.
No, we need you on that soapbox. You have valuable information. Okay, do we have any other comments regarding polling sites from anyone on the call? All right, then we will close old business and move on to new business. The only new business I have is in regard to upcoming dates in the next month prior to the next meeting. And usually I call on Karen to do this, but Karen is out due to a family issue. So July 6th, we have a deadline by noon for either of the major parties to file a certificate of selection stating that a vacancy on the general election ballot resulting from a vacancy on the primary election ballot has been filled. We have a deadline by noon on the 6th to file a declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate at the general election. We have a deadline by noon on July 6th for the Libertarian Party to certify candidates nominated at a county convention or to certify candidates selected to fill a vacancy following the convention. July 15th, we have two deadlines coming up. By noon on July 15th, any candidate can voluntarily withdraw from the general election ballot. July 15th at noon, any independent or minor party candidate can file a consent and petition of nomination after verification of petition signatures. And that is an important issue. Those signatures need to be verified, and I believe the date for that was June 30th. On July 22nd is the first day that a school board candidate can file a petition and consent for a school board office elected at the general election. August 3rd is the deadline by noon for a local public question to be certified to the county election board for placement on the general election ballot. So far, we have no public questions that have been brought forward to the board. August 5th is the deadline for the Indiana Election Division or the County Voter Registration Office to complete any voter list maintenance program conducted before the general election. So if we're going to do any cleanup, we have to have it done by August 5th. And there's a process to follow for that. That's also August 5th, the first day that a write-in candidate for school board candidate may file for a school board office elected at the general election. And on the 6th of August, we'll have our next meeting at 1 o'clock. So do we have any other issues or concerns to be brought before the election board at this time?
I would comment that we do have packets for people who are interested in applying for school board available at Election Central. Is that correct, Nicole?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if
And-
you're interested in running for school board, you can pick one of those up to take a look.
Yep. And I want to thank the B Square Beacon for having put that in their newsletter in their as one of their headline items last week to pass that out to the community. I did not see it in
Okay,
the
I
Herald
ha-
Times. Yes,
This is Ralph Shaw, and I had a question. Just what are the dates of early in-person voting?
all right, I'm going to have to
28
look that
days
up.
for the general election, which is November
Okay.
3rd.
So 28
But
days.
I mean, it's not been officially set, although that's what we believe the election commission will certify.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just asking, because I'm here preparing things for the League of Women Voters to send out, and we
Sure.
try to tell people the dates when which they can
Sure.
expect to do early voting, so,
I have the dates.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
The first day a person may vote an absentee ballot at Election Central is October 6th.
Thanks.
Ah,
and that's also the end of voter registration.
Right.
voter registration ends October 5th, which
Yes.
falls on a Monday.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
All
just-
right. Okay, you said this. The first date was the 6th.
That is correct, October
It's-
6th.
I'm hearing impaired, so sometimes I miss things like that. Um,
And sorry, just so I hear it, if we did by chance consolidate a poll location or two, there's a deadline for doing that. And
60
is it
days.
That is correct.
60
60
days
days before
before-
the election.
before November 3rd.
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes, but we'll make sure that any direction we're moving is done as early as possible so we can get as much community input as possible.
yeah, that makes
We
sense.
want to make sure if anyone feels that their voting rights are being impacted, that we can take action on it.
Yeah, okay, just wanted that in my head. All right,
Yep.
And I guess, having said that, we also will take anybody who wants to work the elections in the general election, contact Election Central and let us know, because if we do open all 34 polls, we're going to need a lot of people. And that was, of course, a major consideration in the spring in terms of being able to do that. So
Yeah.
getting those workers on board early would also be really nice.
Yeah. I think we're looking forward to a robust election this fall. So hopefully we'll motivate a lot of volunteers to come in and participate in the process. And I'd
And-
really like to see more people come from the university and more people who are in the middle of their working lives. I know it's difficult, but if they could give us an evening or two, that would really help as well.
and I just will add to that, we have brand new equipment that the county invested in, and the workers who use that equipment at this past election love the new equipment. It's easier, it's efficient, so just throw that in as well.
Mhm. Okay.
It's not a difficult job. It's a long day, though.
It
Yeah.
is.
Are there any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
I will make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, Hal votes aye.
Carolyn votes aye.
Nicole votes aye.
The meeting is adjourned. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.